Hi everyone, welcome back to the Flicks Files. A very quick video today. I didn't plan on making this video, but I felt compelled to just sit down and have a quick chat about a movie that I've just seen. And that movie is ALIEN Romulus. I've finally seen ALIEN Romulus. I didn't see this at the cinema because I just don't like going to the cinema anymore. I don't know if it's where I live, but the last 3 or 4 times I did go to the cinema, which was a good while ago, I hated it. The people in the cinema were rowdy and very disrespectful of other moviegoers, and I just didn't enjoy it, and I thought it was far too expensive. So from that day, I thought from now on, I'm just going to wait until it becomes available to watch at home with any movie that I want to see. So that's what I've done, and I don't regret it. So it's been about a 3-month wait since ALIEN Romulus came out, but finally I managed to catch it on streaming. And I want to give you my thoughts on it as a fan of the original Alien for over 40 years. Do I need to talk about the sequels beforehand? The best sequel is Aliens. We all know that. The other films are okay. They're worth a watch. In terms of the modern movies, Prometheus and Alien Covenant, I really like Prometheus. Alien Covenant would have been better if they'd have kept Elizabeth Shaw's character alive and not killed her off. But this one is a real callback to the first two. There's no doubt about it. And I think it's very clear that that was what they set out to do from the off. The look of this movie just evokes the first film in a way that really warmed my heart. And the whole movie centers around the Romulus ship that this young group of people commandeer, because they want to use the cryo chambers on the ship to fly to another planet that they want to get to. So they find this derelict Weyland-Yutani ship in orbit around this ringed planet. And they realize that if they go up there, one of them is an android that's played by an actor called David Johnson that I've never seen before, but he's very good in it. And they realize that they can use him to kind of awaken the systems on this ship and then use the cryo chambers. And the ship is kind of split into 2 parts, Romulus and Remus. And the Romulus section of the ship is meant to be the older part of the ship. So the design of it is very reminiscent of the Nostromo. And even down to the computer consoles and things, and the way that the airlock doors work. It's all fantastically done. And it's all real sets, which is lovely to see. None of this green screen bullshit we had in the Star Wars prequels. And Remus is the newer part of the station, which is more in line with the Aliens aesthetic. So it's very clever how they've kind of brought together these 2 different design concepts into one ship. And the female lead is an actress called Kaylee Spaney. And the only other movie I've seen her in is the Alex Garland movie, Civil War. She played a sort of trainee photojournalist in that movie, and she was very good. So when I heard that she was the female lead in this, I thought, oh, excellent, that'll be cool. And I like how all the cast are young as well. That gives it a very nice spin. And I should say this movie was directed by a chap called Fede Alvarez. And up till now, I think he's just been a horror director. And I haven't seen any of his movies, I'm very sad to say. He did an Evil Dead remake. And I think he did a movie called, is it Don't Breathe, I think? Which I also haven't seen. But based on what he did with this, I'm quite compelled to get those movies and give them a watch. So there are things about this movie I really like, and there's just a few things that I wasn't a fan of. But overall, I really liked ALIEN Romulus. And as I say, as a very old fan of the original Alien, I would definitely rate this in 3rd position if I was to put the Alien movies in order. Alien at number 1, Aliens at number 2, ALIEN Romulus at number 3, without a doubt. They ticked all the boxes that I would like them to tick for an Alien movie. And I really hope they do another one, because I know this has been very successful and it's been way ahead of the box office projections that they wanted for this film. So undoubtedly the money men will be rubbing their hands together and wanting to do more. And I think Fede Alvarez has said in an interview that there is potential for a sequel. When they wrote the script, they did think ahead that far. So I really hope that they give him another crack at it. Not straight away. I think we need to wait a few years and give this film time to bed in and breathe a bit more. So what did I like about this film? As I say, I like the two main actors, Kaylee Spaney, David Johnson, brilliant. David Johnson as the android is a bit glitchy. And he's kind of the brother stroke protector of Kaylee Spaney's character, who's called Rain. And there's a few times she has to reset him. She has to turn a key in the back of his head because he's glitching. And there's a part in the movie where they get a data chip from another android and they pop it into Andy. And he reboots and it changes his personality. And he just acts in a different way and he becomes more of a corporate man. It's very clever, a very clever idea. So yeah, they're both really good in it. The supporting cast are also quite good, but I think they're just there as sort of meat fodder. It's quite clearly about these two main characters. So yeah, the actors in it are very good. And as I said, I like the production design. The sets are fantastic. It's all real world sets that they can walk around in. They've captured the aesthetic of the first Alien very well, down to the computer terminals and things like that. It just looks really, really nice, and the lighting's really good. So I really liked that. There's some very good sequences in the movie that are very interesting to do with... oh, by the way, this is going to be spoilers. So if you've not watched this film yet, then I advise you to stop this video because I've got to talk about some of the spoilers. So there are sequences in the movie with face huggers that are very clever. And we learned that face huggers focus in on people based on their body heat. So there's a sequence where they have to work their way through a room full of face huggers. So to make it easier, they increase the temperature on the space station more in line with their own body temperature. So they can kind of walk very quietly through this room and hopefully not alert any of the face huggers. So as an Alien movie, they made face huggers scary again, which is excellent. There's a very good sequence involving no gravity, where they're fighting a ton of aliens and just shooting at them with a pulse rifle. And of course, if you shoot an alien, it's going to bleed acid. So to get around this, she very cleverly thinks, well, I'll kill the gravity so we're all floating in space. So she can shoot them and the acid blood will just sort of and just float around in the air. So there's a very clever sequence with that I really, really liked. They also, this is very interesting, and also another thing I liked, they introduced another phase of the alien life cycle. Because up till now, the alien life cycle consists of the egg, the face hugger on the face, chest burster, and then the next time we see the alien, it would be a full-grown xenomorph. And usually in some alien movies, they'll find the shedded skin of the chest burster on the floor. But in Alien Romulus, they've shown you a middle phase where after it's burst out of a host and it's a chest burster and it's scuttling around, at some point it must build like a cocoon for itself and just hibernate inside this cocoon that looks like, you know, this sounds a bit rude, but it does look like a large vagina. There's no getting around it. And out of this big vagina bursts the full-blown xenomorph. So it kind of fills in that missing gap in the xenomorph's metamorphosis. And it's very clever. And I thought that was a really interesting thing that they showed. So I really liked that. And the actual xenomorph was nice. It was more in line with Giga's original. I was always slightly miffed at how whenever a filmmaker takes on an alien movie, they always feel that they need to change the design of the alien somehow. I know when James Cameron did Aliens, he took it upon himself to redesign the alien a little bit. And I always used to think, it's H.R. Giger, for God's sake, a renowned artist. His original designs are flawless. You can't make it better. And as a result, I always thought the aliens in Aliens, the James Cameron movie, looked a bit more rubbery and not quite as organic or real as the original Xenomorph. You may disagree with me, but that's just what I think. So yes, the alien in Alien Romulus looks more like the original. So that was another yes, and I really loved it. Yes, so a lot to like. Visual effects, really good. There's lots of nice panoramic space shots and the exteriors of the craft, and the craft that they're on is on a collision course with the rings of this planet that it's nearby. So there's some really nice sequences there. So the visual effects are top notch. So all in all, excellent. So what didn't I like? I didn't like the fact that they brought in Homeback as another android. I think it could have worked better if they just spent more time with the look of it. I understand they did it as a sort of puppet, and then they used a bit of CGI to augment the eyes and the mouth. And yes, it does look a bit like Ian Holm, and yes, it does sound a bit like Ian Holm, but it's that uncanny valley thing again that we had, like with Peter Cushing in Rogue One. And I'm sure at some point, somebody on YouTube will do a deep fake version of this that'll look a million times better. You know, why can't they just use deep fake to do these things? I understand that they had full clearance from Ian Holm's family, so there's no issues with using his image. It's not being disrespectful to him. That they had full, as I say, approval from his widow and everything. But why couldn't they just use deep fake footage and do his face that way? It would look way better. So that was one thing I wasn't keen on. And the other thing that was a real, that modern movies tend to do, certainly movies that are sequels or remakes, is they have to keep throwing in Easter eggs. Now, some Easter eggs are fine. There's a couple that are like nods to the Alien Isolation game that were, if you know what they are and you know what to look for, they were quite funny to see, and they weren't in your face. But there was a couple of lines of dialogue that were just, oh, why did you go and have to say that? And there's one in particular where Andy's character, the android, actually says, get away from her. So you think, oh, okay, and then he says, you bitch. And you think, oh, why did you have to put that in? And it just seems so out of place and so ridiculous. And there's no need for it. We know we're watching an alien movie. We know the history. You don't need to remind us. And I really am starting to hate that aspect of modern movies that are remakes or sequels. It's like Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I quite liked that. I quite liked Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now, Ghostbusters Afterlife had a lot of Easter eggs. And I kind of thought, well, okay, I suppose it's just part of the course. I'll just have to let it go. But they continued with it with Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. And you have to think, look, just let the old films go. We're meant to be moving forward. Maybe you disagree with me. I'd love to know what you think. But yes, all in all, I really liked Alien Romulus. And it's lovely to see the franchise sort of get back on track. And unfortunately, it took another filmmaker other than Ridley Scott to do that. So I know Ridley Scott's got Gladiator 2 coming out soon. That's his next big movie. So I hope he knocks that one out of the park, because I'm a big fan of the original Gladiator. So it would be nice to see him do a movie at this point in his career that stands up as well as the original. But we'll see. So yeah, if you haven't seen it yet and you've watched this video, unfortunately I've given you a few spoilers, but there are still other things I've not mentioned. So it's still worth your time to give a watch. But I really loved it. I would definitely rate it third overall in the Alien franchise, which is good going when you think of the films at number 1 and number 2. To be just behind those two movies is very good. So there we are. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.